It always begins with ideation, and we have a process within ideation to go about that in somewhat of a systematic way. So there's different stage gates that we build in, and we we talk about failing fast, and which is something that, of course, everyone talks about, and it's a great thing to be able to do. Is there somebody on the other side of this conversation who has a real problem and is willing to pull out their checkbook and pay you for help and for helping solve the problem?
Eric Langshur is the founder and managing partner of Abundant Venture Partners, a purpose-based incubator focused on improving the human condition by creating companies that improve human wellness, human performance, and human engagement. Eric is also the founder and executive chairman of AVIA, the nation's leading healthcare innovation network.
Is it an idea that's going to make the world better? Is it an idea that's going to invite people and really compel people to collaborate, to get involved?
A values-based entrepreneur, Eric has founded 12 companies and has served as a director of multiple private and public companies. Eric is a New York Times best-selling author. His book, Start Here, Master the Lifelong Habit of Wellbeing, was published by Simon & Schuster, North Star Way in 2017.
When we look at the historical record, we know that society reorganizes around these new innovations in a way that's just massively productive.
Now, let's join the conversation as Eric shares some of the strategies he has identified that reliably boost the success of startups.
Well, welcome to Day Zero. Backed by popular demand is Eric Langshur from Abundant Ventures. Eric needs no introduction at this point. Of all the interviews I've done, Eric, none have connected with people the way that yours did, and therefore I'm not surprised that there have been many people send me a note and say, if you ever get the chance to see him again, could you ask him about? And the number one thing was, with your experience, do you have a blueprint or something like that in terms of starting a business, or how you assess whether or not an idea should progress up the kind of venture ladder?
Well, we actually do. First of all, actually, Rick, is great to be with you again. So thank you for inviting me back. We actually do have a blueprint. We call it our Abundant Playbook, and it's both precise and leaves room for variation and adaptation, depending on the business, the opportunity, the circumstances, the time, the talent, all of the above.
What would be some of the highlights or must-dos in that playbook?
Well, maybe the best way I can answer that is to describe the process in its entirety, and then we can drill down into the different components as you see fit. But it always begins with ideation, and we have a process within ideation to go about that in somewhat of a systematic way. And then if we promote an idea beyond ideation, we go into the validation stage, and then go deeper and continue to click in. And then if an idea graduates from validation, where we go into full-fledged creation mode, and then from there into launch and scale. So there's different stage gates that we build in, and we we talk about failing fast, and which is something that, of course, everyone talks about, and it's a great thing to be able to do, and it's hard to do. That's just we get attached to these ideas. They become like children, and you want to see them succeed, and it's really hard to walk away.
Your track record, you have succeeded so many times. You must have discovered some danger points or no-fly zones. Any of those you could share?
Yeah. Well, there's there's both the sort of the positive and the negative. That the negatives you want to avoid, and the things that you learn are must do's. And I'll start there. It's so much of this is a talent game, and so of course, in starting with the right people and bringing the right human DNA to whatever the task is, and we all get that. But despite the fact that we understand it, sometimes that's hard to do, and we make mistakes. Starting with a big idea and the right idea, then validating and being flexible and being willing to really listen to the market and take market feedback. And what that means is really following the money and saying, is there somebody on the other side of this conversation who has a real problem and is willing to pull out their checkbook and pay you for help and for helping solve the problem? And even that isn't always enough, because there is a distinction between you creating a product, which is interesting, and creating a business, a company, which is interesting. So there's a lot of science to that, and a lot of art. And then on the negative side, things to watch for, that we look for, is we really try to be critical in answering the question: do we have a source of unfair advantage here, or special advantage, where we can we have the right to succeed, that there's a reason to believe that we'll be successful? Can we design the experiment up front so that the downstream activities are fall into place with less with less effort, and that's sort of code for, can we retire risk? And then that leads to the whole set of values that we try to build into these these opportunities, these enterprises, these ideas, businesses. Is it an idea that's going to make the world better? Is it an idea that's going to invite people and really compel people to collaborate, to get involved? Is it an idea that we can be anchored in one of our core values of abundance?
There's clearly a lot there to unpack.
Yeah.
And, for those of us who are kind of new to the concept of due diligence, what I've seen at Abundant, and in full disclosure, Sharp Healthcare is a member of the Abundant Alliance. But you guys really do take it to the next level. Very, very impressive.
Well, thank you, Rick. And one of the drivers for us is we have historically been investing and paying for this work with our own money. So we take a decidedly, we'll call it a Billy Bean approach to it, and we just want to hit singles and move people around the bases. And we're not playing the game of giant venture and making multi-billion-dollar bets.
The other area that I got so much feedback on was in relation to your, I think it's your latest book, and the description you had of what I often refer to as mindfulness in that. And folks ask me, where does he get the time to write? What's his technique? And certainly it seemed that you really have a knack for putting words down on paper, which a lot of us unfortunately don't. So how did you become an author? And I noticed, I'm embarrassed to say, a few days ago when I went to Amazon and looked up your book again, there's a whole list of books by you. So let's hear from Eric, the author, for a few minutes.
Well, it's not that big a library, Rick. I mean, listen, it starts with it starts with the fact that I love to write, and I find it a creative process, and it's just pure joy for me. So, if and we all know the truism that if we're doing something that we're passionate about, then it doesn't feel like work, and it's actually it's energizing, it's enriching. So that makes it an easy activity to make time for. But I remember reading a book years ago about how to write a book. So I was intrigued with it. So I reached out to the author and took the author out for breakfast, which turned into a whole morning. And, like a lot of self-help books, it distilled, the idea, and it's just sort of distilled to one really big, useful idea that landed with me, which was, if you want to write a book, you need to organize yourself the way you organize yourself when you're trying to do anything that's important to you. And so for me, what that translates to is get up early, carve out time, dedicated time before you quote unquote start the rest of the activity in your day. So with Start Here, for example, I would drop my kids off at school. I'd get up early and I would read and research, and then I'd go through the morning routine because the kids were younger, and drop them off at school. And then I would go to a cafe near their school and literally just spend 90 minutes and write and think, and so I did that for years while writing the book.
And did you write on paper or a laptop?
Laptop, yeah.
Yep.
With my really terrible hunting and pecking typing, it's crazy that I haven't learned to type.
Neither have I, and I regret it every day of my life.
I didn't have typing in school, which is just nutty. Yeah. And that's not an excuse, Rick. We could have learned to type.
Maybe you could. I don't think I can. I've tried it several times and it doesn't work. Eric, what about the new economy and how that is going to affect or is affecting the venture process today?
Oh, I love that question, Rick. I've been thinking so much about generative AI as a for example. I mean, talk about new economy. I mean, for me, we are living through a moment in time where, the printing press was invented. And this is like electricity. It's such a big deal. And the implications of it are just, enormous. And I think in every corner of our lives and society. So as it relates to our work in the company creation process and the venture investing process, I'm really excited about there's the family of enterprises that are launched in this now moment and the potential impact they're going to have that has these, that are native to, to these technologies. And, I wonder whether the companies, that were started, that are sort of 2 or 3 years old and in yesterday's vintage, whether they're going to be at a disadvantage. But, what a moment.
I agree completely. What concerns do you have?
Well, yeah, for one, I think there's no stopping it. I admire the chutzpah of the group that has called for a 6-month moratorium. I don't think that's even a possibility. This is a global game, and no one's going to stop. Two, and Harari has a really interesting take on this. That Harari, who wrote *Sapiens* and
Homo Deus.
Homo Deus, right? We talked about Homo Deus once, right?
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. He just published a piece in The Economist, which is amazing, and he has a lens. Just as one could argue that social media hacked democracy in the last few elections, So too is his perspective that generative AI is going to hack democracy, but at a much faster pace because of its power and its potential to create intimacy and one-on-one connections at absolute scale. So it can impersonate a human being and create an incredible, intimate relationship. And the power of that relationship the potential of that relationship to influence, people's thinking and decisions. It's mind boggling. So, where does this go? I don't know. Does it end well? Or is this the beginning of the dystopian future? I sure hope not. It's not a.
Well,
It's not,
this was made for that saying, the genie's out of the bottle. And what these guys were thinking of, that they could stuff it back in, no sirree, Bob.
No, the genie's out of the bottle. Yeah. Skynet.
Eric, any particular concerns about the notion that AI, as one of my friends at Nuance says, makes stuff up?
Yeah, Harvard Business Review used, I think, the term that ChatGPT bullshits. I prefer the term it hallucinates. And in fact, just before this meeting, I came from for this call. I came from a board meeting where the CEO asked GPT to rewrite the mission statement for the firm. And it was fantastic. It was really good. And it omitted the concept of health equity, which was interesting. And so you think about what is training. This large language learning model is being trained on a data set, and in the case of GPT, it only goes up to December 31st. I think it's 21. Wasn't or maybe even today it's not front and center enough for GPT to to be trained on it, which is really it. But yes, it hallucinates, and now that is going to get better and better and better, and I think we're going to be able to train it to really be customized and tailored to the person or the situation or the environment, I think in a really compelling way.
I'm worried about the fact that it is going to be able to create music for us probably better than we've been able to do ourselves. And what happens there? I mean, do we stop going to concerts and start just downloading stuff? I hope not.
Right. Music, movies. Did you see the AI generated version of Top Chef with Marvel superhero characters?
No.
I mean, it's incredible. The creative class, the creative function, there's just swaths of society that are going to change. Actually, this is interesting too. So in the new economy, and this dates back to the Elizabethan era, the England in the mid 1500s, 16th century, with the invention of the stocking frame knitting machine, right? It's the origin of the Luddites, and who were like, oh my God, we can't have this innovation, this automated machine is going to replace our job. So of course the Luddites were against technology, the technology that represented job replacement, and so they went around destroying the machines, and it required bringing in the troops and all that ensued. But what's so interesting is when we look at the historical record, we know that society reorganizes around these new innovations in a way that's just massively productive and leads to economic expansion, job growth, and all sorts of value creation. So notwithstanding the the potential unintended consequences of the tech and the the dangerous narrative. It's just really cool what might come of this.
And are you in abundance seeing new proposals come forward? I mean, as a CMIO at a medium-sized health provider, I get emails every day now about a new, quotes, AI. Some of it is not really AI, but I suspect a lot of it is. And you must be close to experiencing the same kind of stuff.
Oh, we are. And we may be part of the problem, Rick, because I think we're also organizing to, we have a network now of, some, giant number of health systems, the most sophisticated thinkers in the country. And we have a mandate to help them, through AVIA, to help them understand how do we practically use these technologies in service of transforming our enterprises. And to ignore this is just a folly. So, we're
do it at your own peril. I mean,
right.
Yeah.
So we as a trusted partner are compiling a lot of knowledge here, starting with what can one practically do today to leverage this technology in a safe and productive way to meet our business needs, which, for better or for worse, are largely, our problems on the healthcare delivery side, as are labor related. We don't have the labor on the one side, and really as an industry, we haven't substituted capital for labor anywhere near the amount that we need to. We're sort of stuck in between 57 or 60% of our total cost structure as manpower.
Eric, any closing remarks? Very, very appreciative of taking your time again today. It's been a treat, and I just wonder if you have any closing comments.
No, Rick, I always enjoy chatting with you, and from one Canadian to another.
We'll keep that a secret.
It's the club.
Yep.
Yeah.
Eric, thank you.